Podcasting from Heroes Media Group with real, relevant, and raw opinions. This is the College Sports Hour with your host, Clint McPherson, and co-host, Greg Dixon.
What is up, College Sports Hour Nation? This is episode 11 of the College Sports Hour. I'm your host, Clint, and I'm sitting here today with my partner in crime, co-host Greg. Today, we'll be talking about what went down in the college football playoff top 25 during Week 12 of the 2018 college football season, and then transition to what went down this week in the NCAA men's basketball AP top 25. And without further ado, what's up, my man?
Hey, bud, hope you are doing well, man. It is another good week up this way. Guess what? It is a short week because we celebrating some Thanksgiving this week, man. We're going to eat some turkey and everything else like that and get a chance to watch some football.
No doubt, man. I can't wait, man. We'll be able to link up, actually gobble together, man, on some chow or something, man. So I'm very excited to get together with some family and get a little bit of relaxation in and a bit of food in our stomachs, man.
There you go, man. There you go. Well, look, before we dive right into everything we got for this week, make sure everybody, man, we are so thankful for everything that you're doing for us and liking and listening to the College Sports Hour, but make sure you check out and subscribe to the College Sports Hour. To watch and listen to the podcast episodes before it drops in our RSS feed, go to YouTube right now and subscribe to the College Sports Hour YouTube channel. We will be conducting YouTube Lives moving forward. Our podcast can be found on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, Radio Republic, HeroesMediaGroup.com, and CollegeSportsHour.com. Make sure to like and follow us on Facebook as we continue to grow our College Sports Hour community, man. Thank you so much for everything you guys are doing to help spread the word. But, man, let's keep it going. Let's keep the momentum going. Let's grow this family. Let's grow this group. And we also want to remind you that our podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, Blue 4 Tactical, and they sell everything that you need for shooting, hunting, and the great outdoors. Visit blue4tactical.com today to enjoy free shipping. Did you hear that? Free shipping on all purchases of $100 or more. That is blue4tactical.com. Be ready, be prepared, be decisive.
With that said, brother, let's dive right into how the college football top 25 fared during Week 12 of the 2018 college football season.
Let's do it.
We start with number 25, Boise State, beating up on New Mexico 45-14 in Dream Style Stadium. Sean Monster caught a career-best 3 touchdown passes to lead number 25 Boise State to a victory over New Mexico on Friday night. Man, that was very impressive. Brett Rippon continues to show out, and I'm very impressed with this Boise State team.
Yeah, man. I mean, this was a team that, there was some conversation there about me looking at the fact they got Utah coming up, or Utah State, somebody coming up here the next week, and man, thought that New Mexico might be a trap game for them, but man, they were able to handle their business right there. The defense ended up forcing 3 turnovers. Brett Rippon, he throws for 222 yards and 3 scores. Running back Alexander Madison added 145 yards and a touchdown on the ground. So man, they handled their business there.
Without a doubt.
Nothing really more to say about that, but let's jump into number 23, Utah State, surviving Colorado State, 29-24 on the road. Colin Hill's apparent 34-yard touchdown pass to Preston Williams with no time left was negated by a penalty, giving number 23 Utah State the victory Saturday in a wild and stunning finish to a game that played in the snow and the freezing rain, man. This was wild. This was crazy. Man, everybody thought this game was lost, and then they were able to bring it back in there, man.
Yeah, man, I was impressed. I didn't actually get to see this live, but, man, watching the replay and actually watching the game back because of the craziness and the stunning finish, I was like, man, why didn't I sit there and watch Utah State and Colorado State, So that is what it is.
True story.
So let's move on to number 22, Northwestern, man. They keep rolling, and they beat Minnesota 24-14 in Minneapolis. Isaiah Bowser rushed for 85 yards. Not a lot of yards on the ground, but 2 touchdowns, man. 2 important touchdowns. And number 22, Northwestern turned 3 turnovers by Minnesota quarterback Tanner Morgan into 10 points on the way to another victory on Saturday that stretched this program record road winning streak to 8 games, man. They just keep winning these conference games.
We said it last week, and we've been saying it for a couple of weeks now, man. This Northwestern team is really good. I mean, maybe their record doesn't indicate that they would be a national powerhouse or anything like that, and they're not. But, man, they're up there, man. They're playing teams tough. Maybe some people thought that they should have beat Minnesota by more points than what they did. But, man, this was another good win as they continue to roll. And, man, they got some things to play for as this season continues to kind of progress and begin wrapping up here in the next couple of weeks.
Without a doubt, brother.
Hey, man, number 21, Mississippi State put on a show and routed Arkansas 52-6 in Starksville, Mississippi. Nick Fitzgerald, who we've talked about, man, as this team goes, he ended up throwing for 4 touchdowns and ran for another score to lead number 21 Mississippi State over Arkansas on Saturday. This wasn't a game, man. I did sit down and watch a good chunk of this game right here, but, man, there wasn't a lot to watch. It wasn't all that enjoyable because, man, it was a stomping of epic proportions as Mississippi State just continued to roll.
Yeah, man, and Mississippi State did in this game what we've expected them to do majority of the year. I mean, but like you said, if Nick Fitzgerald shows up, they roll. When he struggles, they falter.
Exactly.
So, man, I'm proud to really announce this.
All right,
it's a game that just stressed me out while I watched it because it was an ugly game, man. But and it's something I finally get to plug my team. I haven't done much of other than hating on them all year. Have really got to show them some love. But, man, they're still struggling. But Florida State upsets number 20 Boston College, which, granted, I don't think should be ranked in the college football playoff, but they were.
Okay.
So Florida State gets a much-needed win against number 20 Boston College, 22-21. Like I said, in an ugly game, brother. DeAndre Francois, he stepped up in a big way and threw a 74-yard touchdown pass to Tamarian. Touchdown, Terry, with a minute and 49 left to play to help keep their bowl hopes alive, man. They were trailing in this game early in the fourth quarter, 21-13. But it's just sad, brother, that it's as much talent as they have on that sideline that is going to come down to the annual Florida State-Florida game to decide that.
Oh, man. Look, even when you are trying to celebrate your team with an amazing victory this weekend, you still got to kind of take that knife and jab it in there a little bit, man. Give them a little something there. Hey, man, the bowl eligibility is still in play, man. There's something to celebrate there. I tell you what, man, this Florida State team, I did not anticipate them beating Boston College. I know you didn't feel like that they should be ranked, and I don't know that I do either, but I did feel like they were a little bit of a better team kind of going into this game. But, hey, props to your boys, man. They were able to go in there and pull this game out, man. Had some not some outstanding stats or anything like that. Francois still threw 1 touchdown compared to 2 interceptions. Want to get that under control before heading into Florida next week, who we'll talk about here in just a few moments. Dylan for Boston College was able to still get up over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, but Florida State pulls it out. So, man, props to your boys.
Yeah, man, I think a big turning point in this game was actually Florida State actually having they established a run as well. I mean, Cam Akers only had 14 carries, but he had 110 yards, man. We have not been able to say that a lot for this running game of Florida State. So they got something going against BC. The defense actually slowed Anthony Brown down. He had just as bad game as DeAndre Francois. But, man, when they needed it, DeAndre Francois delivered it a touchdown, Terry, man, for that touchdown. It was huge, man. And like I said, we keep our bowl eligibility streak alive. But if we play like we did this week against Florida, even though Florida struggles on offense from time to time, they will beat us. So going into that game, man, we're going to have to tighten up. And one other thing before we move on from this game, which got me very heated, was how that coaching staff, or the actual head coach, Willie Taggart, celebrated in the locker room like they just did something. You know, his sayings, do something. And I got it, man. You won. It was a huge win because you still have something to play for, which is a bowl game. Woohoo, a bowl game. But you're at Florida State, and the way they celebrated it, like they turned that program around in that game, could it be a turning point? Possibly, but I don't think so, man. They still, they struggled in this game, and they got lucky, like they did in the Louisville game, to win that.
Well, for them at this point in time in the season, it is that they did do something. They didn't lose.
True.
They actually won a game. So a game that they were not supposed to win, according to most experts, picking games and stuff like that. But they came away with it. But I can certainly understand your frustration there, thinking, you know what, man, our team should be better than what it is.
Without a doubt.
All right, man, let's jump into the next game on the list, man. Number 19, Utah would overcome a slow start and the snow to beat Colorado 30-7. Jason Shelley would throw for 221 yards and 2 touchdowns in the snow, leading number 19 Utah to a win over Colorado on Saturday and slinging the Utes closer to their first Pac-12 title game appearance. Man, I tell you what, they jumped out there. Colorado was able to go up 7-0 in that game. But, man, Utah was able to kind of turn the tide there beginning in that second quarter, but getting the ball moving in the right direction. And Colorado, man, continues to stumble, continues to fall since that, was it a 5-0 start? Was that about right, man?
Exactly.
And, it started off 5-0, and then they've lost 6 games straight. causing their coach to lose their job today. Man, he kind of got it out of the way there, or maybe not lost it yet. There's a lot of he's getting ready to be fired anyways. But man, Utah was able to come away with the victory there, and so I mean, we see how that continues to roll for them.
Yeah, what I think they decided for the Colorado coaches, he's going to be coaching, I guess, for the remainder of the year.
Okay.
And then at the end of the season, I think he's getting let go. But I mean, that was a huge third quarter by Utah, man. This is a team I like. I like the quarterback. I like this offense. I like what they're doing. And that third quarter was huge for them. I mean, Jason Shelley, he stepped up in a big way with old boy going down with that injury, broken collarbone.
Yep.
A couple weeks ago. But they needed this win, man. They got a solid win over a team that a lot of people were liking when they were 5-0. But like I told you before, I wasn't buying Colorado, and look at their record now.
Yeah, man, they just kind of continue to – it's like a snowball effect there in the snow game, man. Just continue to go downhill and pick up steam.
No doubt, man. So let's transition over to number 18, Washington, man. They beat Oregon State. They did exactly what we thought they were going to do in Husky Stadium. Jake Browning throws for 3 touchdown passes. Finally having a game to where could you call it a breakout game? Okay, maybe. But, I mean, he throws it at Miles Gaskin, Miles Gaskin actually brushed for 135 yards in the final home game of their careers. So they had a huge game. They went out in style at home. And number 18, Washington, scored 28 first-quarter points, man. That's huge on its way to a victory over Oregon State on Saturday. So they jumped out in a big way. And, I mean, again, it was just too much for Oregon State to overcome.
I will once again hold off my opinions and critiques against Jake Browning until he plays next week when they go up and they have the Battle of the Washingtons when they play Washington State next week. And we'll see how he does against that game when there's a little bit maybe more pressure on him than what Oregon State was doing.
Yeah, man. I agree.
Let's see. Oh, number 17, Kentucky beats Middle Tennessee.
What?
Wow. Man, this was, guys, in case you haven't figured it out yet, man, this was a little bit of a rough week for college football and some of the looking forward to some really good games and anything. But number 17, Kentucky did beat Middle Tennessee 34-23 in Lexington, Kentucky. Mike Edwards had 2 takeaways leading to Kentucky's first 2 touchdowns, and the number 17 Wildcats made several fourth-quarter defensive stops to escape on Saturday.
I mean, Middle Tennessee gave them some it wasn't an easy win.
No, but it should have been.
Exactly. A lot of almost like the number 1 team in the nation at 10-10 at halftime. You know, like what is going on? But I mean, are they looking forward to these other games, or are they? You know, Kentucky's had some bad. I would consider them they would consider them bad losses. You know that with the way their season was playing out. So did they have the hangover effect, or were they looking forward to next week's game? I don't know. But it wasn't an easy win. Their defense, though, came up big like they have been most of the year and got some huge stops on Saturday.
And that's ultimately what you got. I mean, look, okay, yeah. I mean, we got some other teams that struggled either for the first half or the entire game against teams that they should have won. Hey, but at the end of the game, this right here might have been one of those teams that Kentucky would have folded against in years past. So, man, you can certainly see how they've changed the culture and the mindset there in that program.
Oh, without a doubt, man. But and you can't overlook some of these smaller teams, though, because on any given weekend they can jump up and bite you. Fortunately for Kentucky, that didn't happen this weekend. But let's move on to number 15, Texas, brother. I mean, this is a game I predicted Iowa State to win. I think we both did.
I did too. Yeah, we both picked that game.
I mean, and because I'm all on the Brock Purdy party, man. Since he's been in the starter, they've been on a roll, man.
The Purdy party, I like it.
You know what I'm saying? You know, like, and when I wrote in our notes or our show notes or predictions, I was like, in Brock Purdy, I trust, you know? Yeah. So it's one of those things, man. But Texas beats them 24-10. Yeah. Sam Ehlinger ran for a touchdown. I mean, he's been stepping up big in big games all year. He passed for another before leaving with a shoulder injury, which who knows what's going to happen there. But, man, number 15 Texas smothered Iowa State freshman quarterback Brock Purdy in the victory all night and pushed the Longhorns closer to a berth in the Big 12 championship game, which is huge.
Which, you know, you're kind of looking around and scratching your head about and kind of like, you know, is that right? Because, you know, we kind of wrote Texas off a couple of weeks ago. And now they're still in the picture kind of hanging around there. I expected more out of Purdy. I really did, man. I thought that he would have a better game, especially against this Texas defense that hasn't had the gumption to really stop anybody for the most part this season. But they've allowed other teams to score at will, and they just happen to score more points than they have. But I tell you what, man, Texas defense really stepped up this weekend, and man, holding Iowa State to 10 points, man, that's a big deal. That's a big game for them, and man, we'll see how things continue. I still like Purdy. I still think he's got a bright future ahead of him. I still think he's going to do some things here for the Cyclones. But man, Texas was able to rack up 405 total yards, so man, good for them.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you said, the defense for Texas stepped up, holding Iowa State 210 yards. And Brock Purdy, he has a bright future. He's a freshman. He's going to be a stud. And the Cyclones are going to be somebody, if they can keep a decent defense or they can keep some good players around Brock, I think they can make some noise, man, and definitely be somebody like again next year that disrupts a lot of what's going on in their conference right now.
True story. All right, man. Number 14, Penn State beats Rutgers 20-7 in New Jersey. Trace McSorley threw 2 touchdown passes to tight end Pat Freemuth, and number 14, Penn State's defense set up 2 touchdowns with turnovers and a victory over Rutgers on Saturday, sending the Scarlet Knights to their 10th straight loss, which is terrible for them. But I mean, we expect Penn State to win this game. They're able to win this game. Their defense, who probably hasn't gotten a whole lot of love this year, played a really good game in helping that team to come away with a victory. So Penn State continues to roll for this week, anyways.
I mean, what can we say about this? I mean, Rutgers is 1-10. They started off the year with a win, and they've lost 10 straight. So it's Penn State, okay, you went in and did what you're supposed to do, but you only won 20-7. Your offense was kind of struggled against this team. Obviously, your defense showed up, but Penn State, this is why you are not elite or great, whatever you self-proclaimed yourself.
I'm telling you, man, that's got to be a shirt somewhere. That has got to become a shirt somewhere where you can give it away as a Christmas present or something like that. I think you're great, but not elite. I mean, I think that's a great Christmas present for somebody.
No, without a doubt, brother. So let's move on to number 13, Florida. Route.
Can we just
the Idaho Potatoes, 63-10 at the Swamp, man. So Felipe Franks, though, he showed up as he should, or maybe me and you could have done 274 yards against Idaho. And 3 touchdowns. But all that happened in the first half, man. And it basically, he didn't, after that, it's like, sit down, brother. And number 13, Florida, ran up 600 total yards. Obviously, we expect that against Idaho, the Potatoes. But, I mean, come on, man. 63-10, Florida showed out. Florida took care of business. But this sets up a huge game for my Noles against the Florida Gators next week. And so we'll see what happens there.
Well, there's obviously some bragging rights that goes on right there between these two rivals. Playing the last game together every year. So we'll see what happens there. But I don't know what else to say about this game. 63-10, Florida wins. The end.
Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to say Idaho Potatoes. It might be the Idaho Vandals, but it is what it is. Don't get mad.
I like potatoes.
That's why I have the Idaho on my mind, man. So It's one of those things that, dude, is Felipe Franks going to be no, he's not going to be their future.
No.
So Trash, hurry up and heal up.
Yep.
And maybe be ready to go for a Florida State game, even with your broken ankle.
Hey, man, I feel a little bit of contention there in the air, like a true Noles fan talking about the Gators, man. This is the stuff that we like to see right here. Hey, but they let Emory Jones get in there and play some quarterback as well on Saturday, 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I mean, Felipe Franks ain't the only one throwing the rock on that team over there, and obviously we have seen what he has done as well with Franks going down there a couple weeks ago.
Exactly.
All right, let's jump into one of the few games this weekend that featured some ranked opponents going in there. Number 11, UCF, the self-proclaimed national champions from last year, would dominate number 24, Cincinnati, 38-13 in Orlando, Florida. Man, they were all hyped up. Man, College Game Day was there. There was a national televised game there on Saturday night, and Mackenzie Melton and the UCF Knights, man, they did not disappoint if you were a fan of theirs. Mackenzie Melton threw for 268 yards and accounted for 4 touchdowns to help number 11 UCF remain unbeaten and extend the nation's longest winning streak to 23 games with a rout of number 24 Cincinnati. Man, I got got to be honest with you, I did not pick this game. I picked Cincinnati to upset this game. I really thought this would be the stumbling block just because I hadn't been impressed with UCF and the way that they played for a couple of weeks there. But, man, they were able to move the ball pretty much at will. Cincinnati was able to move the ball as well, but they could not find the end zone, man. They were able to get 252 yards on the ground, but they couldn't get it in the end zone until late there in the fourth quarter, man. So, man, I tell you what, UCF is still doing what they're supposed to do, still trying to make a case for themselves, being an undefeated team, but still not getting a whole lot of love.
Yeah, I mean, just look at their schedule and you see why they're not getting a lot of love. Yes, it's like, something should be said for the way they played Pitt, and dominated Pitt, and then Notre Dame struggled with Pitt. Mm-hmm. I mean, so you can see on a week-per-week basis, maybe they can contend with some of these higher-ranked teams. But on a week-per-week basis, if they had to play an SEC schedule, if they had to play a Michigan schedule, if they had to play a Notre Dame schedule or somebody like that, even a Clemson, having to play something like they do all the time, it's just not conducive to the type of team they are. And I see why. Exactly like Kirk Herbstreit said, play somebody, and then we can talk. But, dude, they haven't lost in like 701 days. That's a long time. And you got to give a little bit of love to the 23-game winning streak. I don't like them at number 11. I should definitely think they should be higher. But top 4, absolutely not.
They got to jump up this week, I would think. I know that in the AP poll, which we're not paying attention to right now because it doesn't really matter, especially not for the college football playoff. But I know they jumped up there, I think about 3 spots there in the AP poll. So we'll see what happens with the college football playoff committee. But I'm with you, man. They're not getting anywhere close. They're not sniffing the top 4 at this point.
Yeah, that American Conference, man. It's just people. It's looked down upon. So and sorry, unfortunately, if you want love, the teams either in that conference have to get a lot better. I mean, you have some solid teams in there, but look at what like South Florida's doing. I mean, how many games have they lost in a row? They're like 7-4, 7 whatever. They've lost 4 in a row.
Right.
And then Cincinnati here, they were undefeated a couple weeks ago. Now they've lost 2 games. So it's one of those things. It's the conference. They're beating up on each other or whatever, and these other teams are surviving. But at the end of the day, man, you're going to actually have to schedule some legit teams out of conference teams to really get you some love. And okay, you have an argument when you go win a bowl game, but what is your bowl game going to consist of? Is it going to consist of a not that good Auburn team again?
Right.
Or, it's like, are you going to play Kentucky, which has a good defense but no offense? Okay, you're going to score a lot of points on them possibly, but they might slow you down. It's one of those things. It's a give or take. I got it. Mackenzie Milton, dude, if I was a quarterback and I was in his shoes, I would think we were one of the best teams. I would think we were better than Notre Dame. I get it. I'm not hating on that. But it's just like, dude, you got to say, hey, let's get out of this conference and go join somebody better.
Well, I think that's basically all you're going to be able to do at this point, because I don't even know that you can schedule enough teams in your non-conference schedule to be able to make that much noise.
The funny thing is, though, we're all talking about college expansion and expanding the playoffs. But I think they would even struggle to get in the 18 playoff with how many – and, okay, maybe they get an 8 or a 7 seed.
Right.
But at the same time, there would be a lot of noise against it, too, and maybe they luck out and get it. But who knows, man? There's still a lot of teams that are out there right now. And do I think they're better than Oklahoma to a certain degree, defensive-wise? Yes. Offensively, probably not, because they have one of the – I think Kyler Murray is one of the best quarterbacks in NCAA right now, the way he's like a little micro machine. But
he can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, no, all right. So that's neither here nor there. So let's just move on, because we could talk about UCF all day.
I was going to say, we spent a lot of time on UCF here.
Yeah, man. Let me I went off on a tangent there. Sorry, guys.
That's all right.
So let's move on to number 10, Ohio State, man. Come on, guys.
Wow.
They survive in overtime to beat Maryland, which I did not see that happening. I didn't see Maryland showing up like they did. Maryland almost pulled this out. They lose 52-51 in College Park. But, man, it went to overtime. And Ohio State had to force overtime because they came from behind. And it almost set up one of the most stunning upsets of the year. Again, they defeated that. Maryland Terrapins couldn't convert that 2-point conversion, man. But, dude, did you see Urban Meyer on the sideline? He looked like he was about to have a stroke. He looked like he was ill. I don't know what's going on with that guy, but please take him off the sideline because he is not healthy. I mean, and it's sad that he's either this stressed out about how bad his team is on defense or whatever it is. dude, stop coaching.
Man, I tell you what, man, I don't know the last time that I have seen a coach look that animated and that upset over the way his team was playing or how underperforming his team was at that point in time, man. Because he looked, man, he had his headset off multiple of times. They were looking over there, just not knowing what to do, not talking to anybody, just kind of staring off onto the field there, almost in disbelief as to what was happening. And Maryland, man, they did jump out there to a lead there. Man, going for that 2-point conversion there in overtime. I really felt like watching the end of that game, man. Maryland's going to pull this thing out here, man. But unfortunately for them, that didn't happen. Ohio State would rack up 688 yards and 7 touchdowns on the Maryland defense here. So there was very little defense being played. Dwayne Haskins threw for 405 yards and 3 touchdowns. He ended up running for 3 more. J.K. Dobbins for Ohio State would rush for 203 yards on the ground. So, man, there was a lot of offense that was being played there, but no defense. And now they got to play a Michigan team that, I got to be honest with you, is licking their chops on this Ohio State team right now. I believe they may have been looking past a little their team from this previous week, Indiana, looking towards Ohio State. But I think, man, they can smell blood in the water on this team.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Is it going to be one of these close games, or is it going to be a buzzsaw? Like Ohio State can't do anything, but right. Michigan does enough to win. Because again, that Michigan offense is still not very impressive to me. And I think that's what's going to be the limiting factor that doesn't win them the national championship. Now, could they win with their defense? Absolutely. But it's going to take a lot of help to win with just the defense alone, especially some of these teams like the Clemson and the Alabama that can score points. Right. So, but has good defenses too. So, again, there was an argument when I was on one of the Facebook Lives about somebody like, well, what happened with the Georgia, and I forgot who it was, Oklahoma game when it was a shootout?
Yeah.
But, that's very rare. But who ended up winning that game at the end of the day?
Exactly.
The team with the better defense. It's one of those things that you just got to look at it for what it is. I just don't think Ohio State is playing good football. And they haven't been playing good football for weeks. And there is something going on with that team because – and I know Urban Meyer came out and said he had a cyst or whatever it is, dude. But your health is more important than, this team that did good without you, brother. So go get healthy, go get better, and stop coaching. Do what you got to do. Show your love through announcing or something. But, man, right. I do not want to watch a whole game again where they just show Urban Meyer over and over, basically more than they did the game.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one, man. And there was some more stuff that was coming out over the last couple of weeks about the Ohio State team and what he may or may not allowed there with some different disciplinary actions and stuff. And Ohio State's come out and vehemently denied anything was going on there or anything like that. And okay, but man, there's just still things continuing to churn that have nothing that aren't on the field related. It's a lot of off the field stuff too. So I'm sure that's got to weigh on him as well.
Yeah, and I don't think he'll be the coach much longer. Obviously they'll probably make it through the year, but I think with everything that's going on, they're either going to make him step away or he's going to do it on his own. But, again, dude, they're not in a good place with him because stuff continues to come out, regardless if it's somebody trying to bring him down or not. No team, nobody wants that burden. Nobody wants that carrying around with them. So I really think the door is open right now for him, and they're going to shoo him out one way or the other.
True story. All right, man, let's keep rolling on here. And, man, let's look at the big upset of the weekend, man. Oklahoma State upsets number 9 West Virginia 45-41 in Stillwater, Oklahoma, man. Oklahoma State's been knocking on the door for a couple of weeks now, looking to get a big win over a ranked opponent, and they were able to get it this weekend against West Virginia. Taylor Cornelius, man, passes for 338 yards. He runs for 106 more and threw a touchdown to Tylan Wallace with 42 seconds remaining to rally Oklahoma State past number 9 West Virginia on Saturday, man, with that huge comfort behind victory, man. It was impressive to watch, man. I tell you what, this was crazy, man. They were at one point in time, he led his team, they were down 31-14 at the half. They were down 31-14 at the half, going up against a Heisman hopeful and Will Greer, who had a good game, 364 yards and 2 touchdowns. But, man, that effort wasn't enough, man, to overcome and get a big road win there. But, man, Taylor Cornelius, I tell you what, man, what a game he had on Saturday.
Yeah, West Virginia almost put themselves in position to win the game at the end over there, getting down, I think, to the 20-yard line or closer than that. Will Greer stepped up and made some clutch passes. The receivers actually stepped up and made some huge catches. to almost pull another wild finish off, which this was a wild finish. Yeah. But it seems like if I'm looking at it, when I'm thinking about the four best teams, obviously I don't see West Virginia and Oklahoma State, a Texas, or an Oklahoma being the four best teams. But would I sign up for that 14 playoff? And I know they can't be in the same. Obviously, they're in the same conference. Yeah. But the way these teams score points, in no defense, I would just sign up just to say whatever. Make it the NIT Bowl. Like they have the NIT basketball tournament. Okay, right. If they're not in the top four, make them the top four of the NIT football bowl. Or football series, because dude, it would be wild to just see these teams continue to shoot at 63 to 62, 45 to 41. 52 to 51. It's like, when does it stop? When does your defense actually decide to actually play, or just why are they just standing there? What's going on with these teams, man? It's, again, I know it's an offensive league, brother.
Right.
But that's not going to get you in the top four.
You might as well, with some of these teams, we might as well just kind of do overtime rules for the entire game, man. Just put the ball on the 30, on the 35 or whatever, man, and let's just see what happens, man. Just let it go ahead and roll. No time clock or anything like that, man. We each give you about 10 possessions, and we'll call this thing a day, because ain't nobody playing defense anyways. Everybody's scoring at will.
No, without a doubt, man. Let's roll on. Let's go to number 8, Washington State, man.
Man.
I think I text you. I stayed up late watching this game because I wanted to see what the mustache had to do. He stepped up huge. He was huge in this game,
gosh.
Man. They scored 55 points before halftime. I text you and I'm like, dude, I think, oh boy, Mike Leach, he's going for 100 to try to make a statement, to try to get his team leapfrogged into the top four. It's not going to happen. But, man, Gardner Minshew, he throws for a school record 7 touchdown passes, and I really think they reined him in, because he got some of them in the fourth quarter. But, man, it's like, dude, they were just showing out. And they continue their long shot bid for the college football playoff, but 69-28 against a decent Arizona team that has been hot of late.
Yeah, I mean, they're a 500 team. I mean, they're an average team that's getting in there. It's got some good wins, got some bad losses in there. So, I mean, it wasn't like it was just some cupcake team or anything. It was a conference opponent. But, man, I tell you what, man, the amount of yards, the amount of points that they were putting up at will, and Gardner Minshew throwing for 473 yards, the 7 touchdowns that you mentioned, but also 0 interceptions. You're throwing the ball around that much, man, you anticipate there might be an errant throw or something like that. No, he played pretty much clean football for that game, and they're looking to try to make that statement, and they can make another statement this week, man, with another big matchup that they have playing Washington.
Yeah, man, the mustache is on point.
The mustache is on point. All right, man, number 7 LSU, Rolls Rice.
Woohoo.
Man, not Rolls Royce this time, guys. Rolls Rice, 42-10 in Tiger Stadium. Joe Burrow passes for a career high against Rice for 300. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh. All right, hold up, let me try this again. Joe Burrow passes for a career high of 307 yards and 2 touchdowns in less than 3 quarters, and number 7 LSU rolled to a victory over a struggling Rice team on Saturday night. Man, I don't even know what to say about this game. They jump out to 14-0 lead in the first quarter, and they never look back in this thing. You're supposed to win this game. You're a top 10 team in the playoff system, and Rice has got 1 win on the season.
Yeah, I'm with you, brother. They've already played their 12 games. They're 1-11. And Joe Burrow, and the highlight is, and it's funny, career high, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns against Rice. Great.
This one just came off of Gardner Minshew. When it just sounded like we kind of put those stats back to back right there, and okay, all right, never mind, keep going.
All right, man, let's move on from that game.
Okay. So
let's go to number 6. Number 6 Oklahoma, man. What's going on with this defense? They beat Kansas 55-40, but they let Kansas score 40 in Norman, Oklahoma, at home. This wasn't on the road. This was at home, man. Come on. It's one of those things that it happened, and when you look at it, Oklahoma, Kyler Murray shows out.
Yeah.
He does good. Oklahoma has 566 total yards.
Yep.
But come on, man. What?
It's ridiculous. There was the guy for the running back for Kansas, Puka Williams Jr. He rushes for 252 yards and 2 touchdowns. Stop, wait, hold up, bring that back in. A Kansas team who's not supposed to be in the same league, in the same class as an Oklahoma team. They got a running back who goes for 252 yards. But thankfully, Oklahoma has Kyler Murray on their team, going to throw for 272 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's going to run for 99 yards and 3 touchdowns himself. Another high-scoring game there for Oklahoma, and another week of their defense giving up a lot of yardage and a lot of points.
Guys, if you think Oklahoma is one of the top 4 teams in the country, just stop.
Yeah.
Please. Just please stop. Especially with the teams that are there right now. Okay, maybe Notre Dame might not have. I mean, they're at least is the 2 best teams in the country in the top 4. I know that for a fact.
No doubt.
But when you got a Michigan that has the defense the way they have it right now, maybe they don't have the offense to really complement it, but the offense is grinding it out. The offense is scoring points, and Notre Dame shows out against Syracuse. So just please, right now, the amount of yardages. If we go and look at the stats. What Oklahoma's given up, what Texas has given up, what Oklahoma State has given up, what West Virginia's been giving up the last few weeks. Get out of here, man. It's like, please just have your defense show up one weekend, and then I can maybe kind of argue that you should be in the top 4.
Maybe. All right, what we got? We got number 5, Georgia. Number 5, Georgia overwhelms UMass 66-27 in Athens, Georgia. Ooh. Another game where a ranked opponent dominates. Freshman Justin Fields is going to throw for 2 scoring touchdown passes and ran for another touchdown. Tyler Simmons had a rushing and receiving scores as well. Number 5, Georgia protected its playoff hopes by overwhelming UMass on Saturday, and it wasn't even close. Georgia got out to a 28-point second quarter pull away right there. Man, it was crazy. Jake Fromm, him and Justin Fields, they kind of split duties back there at the quarterback position. I found this interesting. Georgia never punted in this game.
And all I got to say before we move on, because good job, Georgia.
Wow. Guys, hold up. You need to pause the podcast right now. You need to kind of get you a little moment where you can record that, and you just need to have that playing over and over again. All you Bulldog fans, man, you need to have that playing over and over again, because you probably are never going to hear that again.
Probably not. All right, man. Let's move on to number 4, Michigan. Okay, this is a game, a trap game. We talked about it. Number 4, Michigan beats Indiana 31-20. They found themselves in a dogfight. Sure. They're actually losing at halftime, 17-15 against Indiana, and it was like, trap game. But Karen Hignon, he ran for a go-ahead touchdown early in the third quarter, and Jake Moody set a school record, dude. He was just booming field goals left and right. He hit 6 of them and helps number 4 Michigan beat Indiana. But again, see, this is why I don't like Michigan as much. I mean, the defense struggled in this game, but when you have an offense they won, got it, but it's one of those things, man. You expect their offense to just be able to put up more points. And okay, I got it. They might have been overlooking this team, but dude, it almost bit them.
I'm with you on that, man. Kind of continuing to watch the way this offense they've had some games over the last couple of weeks that have made you think maybe that offense was starting to pick up a little bit of steam, and then they have a game like this where they allow a team in Indiana to rack up more yards against them than any other team has all season long. No other team has put up this amount of points. They put up 385 yards, not points, yards, 385 yards against the Michigan team, and they haven't given up that many yards all season long. But I tell you what, for some odd reason, man, this Indiana Hoosier team, man, they always give Michigan fits, man. For the last couple of years, this game has gone into overtime. And so, man, it's scrappy. It's a dogfight, man. They get in there. You see, they're not putting the ball in the end zone, but they're kicking field goals. Shea Patterson, 16 of 28 for 250 yards and 1 touchdown. Man, you're looking for Michigan to do a little bit more against this Indiana team. But man, for some odd reason, Indiana just plays Michigan hard every single time they play.
And I see that. But the good thing for them, they're in prime position. They're in the 4 spot. The top 4, really the top 8. Stayed true to form and took care of business, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 that were on buys. But, I mean, like I said, some games you're going to have to grind it out. It seemed like Michigan, they had to grind this game out as well, like the Northwestern game. Yep. Found a way to hold – their defense stepped up big in the second half, just holding the Hoosiers to 3 points, which was huge. Because if they duplicated what they allowed them to do in the first, they would have lost this game.
Oh yeah, man, it's another bad game. I mean, it's the bad loss that really begins to throw everything out of whack, and we got a whole different conversation happening with that top 4.
Without a doubt.
All right, man, let's jump into number 3, Notre Dame routing number 12, Syracuse, 36-3 in Yankee Stadium. So before we talk about the game, you got any opinions on Notre Dame's unis or anything like that? Would you like to say anything about it?
Man, I was not a fan. So when they first released them, I was like, those are dirt, garbage, ugly. What are they doing? This is not. They look like they're wearing baseball uniform. I got it. It's representing Yankee Stadium. But when I saw them, actually, when you watch the highlights, it didn't look that bad. A lot of people were disgusted with them. I mean, I got it. It's just not the traditional Notre Dame uniform, But I did not like them. Was not a fan of them. But again, like I said, they kind of surprised me after watching the highlights and watching the game. I actually watched this game, but seeing them play on the field, it didn't look as bad. Maybe because the camera wasn't so zoomed in all the time. But it wasn't that bad, man.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about the game a little bit. So Ian Book returns to the starting lineup for the starting quarterback of the Fighting Irish. Hey, man, and there were some people that thought that Syracuse had something for the Fighting Irish. Man, thought this was going to be a really good game. Evidently, somebody forgot to tell Notre Dame that same story right there, because this game wasn't even anywhere close.
Well, I was one of them.
Well, I know you were, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, I wasn't going to call you out on it, but that's okay. Ian Book throws for 292 yards and 2 touchdowns. They would route number 12 Syracuse. Hey, man, big moment in this game. First quarter, Eric Dungey, quarterback for Syracuse, goes down. Man, the backup comes in there and can't really get anything going. He gets sacked 6 times and picked off twice in this game. I don't know that Eric Dungey playing in this game makes that much of a difference, but I can guarantee you this, man, that they're a better team. Syracuse is with Eric Dungey behind center.
Oh, without a doubt, they would have made a difference. I mean, maybe he wouldn't have. It might have been a return of the bad Eric Dungey, but man, when he's on, their team is rolling. It's almost like the Nick Fitzgerald. He's good. He can get them going. He's a tough dude. But the one thing with him is he gets injured way too much, and so that was not a timely injury. Obviously, he would have rather stayed in the game, but man, Notre Dame really proved me wrong in this game, because I really thought Syracuse was actually going to do it. But when Dungey goes out, I was like, no chance. And then Notre Dame did what they were supposed to do, and they took care of business, especially, and it just helps them inch closer to the end and keep the dream alive. And that trip to the college football playoff is right there for them, man.
Oh yeah, man, they got that one game against USC this week, and that's pretty much it for them, man. And I mean, obviously nothing's a lock because you don't ever know what's going to happen. But I mean, they're sitting there at number 3 and still looking good. So
if they win next week, brother, it's a lock.
Well, I've heard some conversations about some people trying to make some arguments about why Notre Dame shouldn't be in there, but you just did knock off who was the number 12 team in the country. So I mean, you're kind of losing any arguments that you could potentially have, especially considering the fact that you also beat the number 4 team in the country right now.
No. I mean, true. All right, man, let's move on to number 2, Clemson. They started off slow against your boys, man. But Duke hung in there, man. Duke jumped out to an early lead, but they ended up losing 35-6 at Clemson, man. Trevor Lawrence was 21 for 38 for 251 yards and 2 touchdowns. And number 2, Clemson, like I said, they had to overcome a slow start to beat Duke 35-6 on Saturday night to finish perfect. Again, in Atlantic Coast Conference, this just shows what their coach, man, Dabo is. Clemson is just the cream of the crop in the ACC right now, and there's nobody even close.
Oh, obviously, 100% there. Yeah, Duke hung in there for that first half. Kind of intriguing to me because when you look at the amount of points that Clemson probably should have put up in that corner or in that first half, only putting up 14 points. 14 there in the second quarter. It's not like Duke's calling card is their defense. They haven't really been able to stop a lot of teams this year, but they've been able to. They had been able to move the ball at a fairly consistent pace, and not being able to do that in the first half really began to tell the tale for me, man. Not that I ever thought that Duke really had a big chance to win this game, but not being able to move the ball hardly at all in that half, outside of putting up those 6 points there early on in the first quarter, man. But Clemson got their butts in gear, man. Played a great second half, and 35-6, they're your winner.
Chicken dinner.
Okay. All right. So number 1, Alabama would end up romping I always get confused. The Citadel,
50-17
after being tied at the half in Tuscaloosa. Man, there were a lot of wide eyes there, man, after that first half. And,
exactly.
Saying, man, what in the world's going on here? Tied up 10 apiece. But then, man, that second half took place, and 27 points there in the third quarter really began to put things in place as Alabama would go on to win 50-17. Tua Tagovailoa throwing for 340 yards, 3 touchdowns. What else you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge second quarter for the Citadel, but that third quarter, man, that's what we expected Alabama to do from the beginning. But, sure. Man, just look at it. The Citadel, I mean, go look at his passing stats, dude. He was like 0 for 2. It's one of those teams, they're going to run the triple option. The option is the game. And so sometimes with teams like Alabama, they don't see that all the time. They don't go up against that in SEC. So it's something that kind of, at the end of the day, I don't even know if they really prepared for it this week. They were just like, Dude, we'll show up and play. And it took them a half to figure it out. And once they figured it out, it was all she wrote.
Yeah, man. I mean, there will be some people that'll say, see, somebody can. There's a team that hung with, in a very a team that nobody gave any credit to. The Citadel was able to hang with Alabama for a half. So, I mean, is there a good team that could hang with them for the entire game? No, Alabama didn't care about the Citadel.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at it, unless those top 4 teams or the top 4 outside of Alabama learn how to play the triple option, very good. They're not going to do that. Nobody's going to be able to play that game against them. So, all right, man, that wraps up week 12 of college football. Let's switch topics like we did last week and talk some college basketball, man. College basketball is officially in week 2, so we're like 12 days into the season. And we've already seen several upsets with many more still to come, I know, throughout the year, because that's how college basketball is. And so far we've seen, like, we started off the year we've mentioned before, number 4 Duke blowing out number 2 Kentucky, 118-84. And then we mentioned last week Buffalo beating number 13 West Virginia 99-94 in overtime. And then we had number 18 Michigan destroying number 8 Villanova 73-46. Man, did you see that coming?
No, I did not. The only thing I didn't see it coming. I wouldn't have projected that to happen. But the only question I had is going into the year, I did wonder if number 8 Villanova was a little bit overrated now. Villanova's coming into the year off of a national championship last year. So, they should be getting some love, and they have been. The only problem is that, man, they lost several key players, and so it's a question mark of can they come back in there and really retool and get things going. So you got this championship rematch, but, man, it was definitely different results and a rout, man. Charles Matthews has 19 points. Man, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's names. I'm going to completely butcher it. I've only heard it a couple. Okay, we're going to go with that. He had 18 points. The Wolverines, man, they jump out to an early lead, 10-2, less than 5 minutes into the game, and then they had to score 22-8 midway through the half, man. I tell you, this was absolutely a crazy game to watch, and you might have said I might have been okay. Michigan can win this game. I didn't see a 73-46 rout.
No, me neither, man. I have a couple buddies. I mean, somebody that usually tunes into the Facebook lives that we've been doing in the past. He's a Michigan fan. He's a huge football, basketball fan. And then I have another guy that I served in the military with that I was just chatting with that might help us out eventually. And he's a Michigan fan, man. And he listened to our podcast, and he agreed with some of the things we said and agreed with what my opinions on Michigan and stuff like that. So that's cool. But, man, we were trading some text messages back and forth, and he mentioned this about Michigan, man. He's like, I did not see them doing that. But like you said, Villanova, you can tell they're not the same team they were last year. Losing those key pieces that they had on that team, you can definitely tell that they came in, that they basically got their ranking off of what they did last year. And again, the preseason rankings to me are worthless. And then when you go and once you start seeing the first 2 weeks, you start seeing what these teams are. And as we get further down these upsets, you'll continuously see Villanova as being one of those teams that can't really get out of their own way right now. And they're going to have to figure out a way, which I know they will. They'll figure out a way to start winning again.
We'll talk about them again here in another moment or two about this Villanova team. But man, it's going to be really interesting to see how Jay Wright, their head coach, can get this team turned around and see what they can do as the season progresses. Because it's still very early on. This isn't college football, man, where you lose a game or two and you're completely out of it. Man, I remember UConn just a couple years ago, man. Wouldn't have even gotten into the national to the big tournament had they not won their conference. And man, they go on the streak of winning their conference, man, and end up winning the national championship that year. So it's still very early on, and we'll see what Villanova does.
Yeah, I mean, Villanova's where they're at for a reason. They're a team that, they just can't. They played in a national championship game. They just, it's like one of those things. They're gonna be good. Do they have the ironing board out yet? Ironing those kinks out? Hopefully for Villanova fans, they do.
Right.
But right now, man, they're just not as good as advertised or whatever the polls were giving them love on. And we'll see that. Actually, I guess the polls will come out tomorrow on Monday, and we'll see a huge switch up. And will they be still ranked? I don't know, but we'll have to find out.
Absolutely.
So, man, a game that surprised me was Indiana bouncing number 24 Marquette, 96-73. And Marquette's a good team, man. Marquette can score the rock, and so that's what. And what surprised me is I don't know that much about Indiana coming into this year. I mean, obviously, traditionally, the Hoosiers movie and all that stuff. When you think about Indiana, you think about Bobby Knight and all that stuff. It's like you think about a good team, and that a team that can beat you. And dude, that defense showed up. They held Marquette to 42% from the field and 5 of 21 on threes. They forced 14 turnovers, brother.
Yep.
Indiana showed up to play some defense.
You better believe it, man. And then they're doing a really good job of passing the ball around, man. They had 5 different players that score in double figures, led by Romeo Langford with 22. So, I mean, but the big story of this game, man, and you're gonna hear this name, you're gonna hear about this guy a lot. The freshman point guard that started for Indiana, man, Rob Finisi. He had 12 points, 8 assists, and played great defense on Marquette's guard, Marcus Howard, who's like a stud, man. I'm telling you, man, this kid is good. He is really, really good. And that man, Indiana was able to really play some good defense on them and shut him down. Not shut him down where he didn't have his mark on the game, but didn't do nearly what he was anticipated to do in that game. And Marcus Howard had a lot of good things to say about Rob Finisi as well.
Yeah, man, I'm impressed. And again, Indiana is a team that y'all better watch out for. And the way that they played that game, man, and the way they shut Marquette down, I was very impressed.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, man, it's going to be interesting to see what Indiana does, man. They've had a good start to their season, and so, man, it's going to be interesting to watch how they do the rest of the season as well.
Without a doubt.
So another upset that we had this week going on in college basketball was Iowa defeating number 13 Oregon 77-69. Another game, man. I'm telling you what, I did not see this one coming, man. I'm with you. Preseason rankings don't mean a whole lot. However, but sometimes they do. And I didn't know a whole lot about the Oregon team kind of going into this game, but I certainly didn't anticipate them losing to Iowa. But man, Iowa, man, got in there and man, they played some really good ball, man. They get in there, they jump out to an 8-0 lead to start the game. They had to lead 39-28 at the half, and man, they just kind of continued to roll with it. Oregon was able to cut it close there with 23 seconds left. They got it down to about 7, but that was as close as it got, man. And Iowa, man, they ran with the ball on this one.
Yeah, man, I was impressed with the Iowa team. The Hawkeyes definitely stepped up and upset this number 13 Oregon team. And I again, coming into this year, I know Oregon has been pretty good in basketball of late. I'm not a fan of their court. Obviously, they try to get a little too fancy with that thing.
Sure.
But it's like, again, did I expect Oregon to win when I'm looking at everything on paper? Obviously. But Iowa stepped up huge, man, and got them a good quality win to start the season off.
Absolutely.
So let's go to UConn, knocking off an ACC team that has been, in the past, has been really considered a powerhouse. And I know they've struggled over recent years. Yep. It's not the Syracuse of old where they've been dominant with Boeheim. Was it Boeheim, right?
Yeah.
Is he still the coach?
He is.
Okay,
he is.
So, I mean, it's going to take – Syracuse is headed in the right direction, obviously, when it comes to, because, again, like I said, they've been struggling in recent years and haven't been the Michigan or the Syracuse of old. But, man, UConn steps up huge in this game. They win 83-76. Coach Dan Hurley was pumped with his team about his team defeating this team. So Jalen Adams, 16 points. I mean, dude, what can you say? UConn get another good quality win here, man.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, man. One of the greatest videos that I saw of highlights this week was Coach Dan Hurley, man, chest bumping the mess out of one of his players. It's like he's got all fired up, all pumped up there at the end of the game, chest bumping, and then immediately he flips a switch and jumps in line and starts shaking hands with guys like, good game. Good game.
Exactly.
Good game. Just as calm, man. It was great, man. It was awesome. But, man, I tell you what, man, he's got his team playing some good ball. Syracuse, man, they played the good defense against Syracuse. They caused Syracuse to miss 40 of their 66 shots from the field. including 16 of 22 on three-pointers, man. So Syracuse was struggling a little bit, man. They struggled in the next game as well, going through this drought. But I tell you what, man, big thing is for me is effort on the rebounding edge. And UConn would out-rebound Syracuse 46-32. You don't see many Syracuse teams being out-rebounded, man. They're gonna do a lot of things. They're gonna play that zone defense, and man, they're gonna rebound the ball like crazy. But UConn was able to get in there and get some of those big offensive rebounds, some big defensive rebounds, and man, upset UConn, man. And we saw, and so man, that would lead certainly to a huge matchup there in that classic tournament there for UConn and Iowa to play against each other, and then Syracuse and Oregon would play later on the next day.
Yeah, man, but like when we talk about that game, I mean, Oregon, they come out after that loss to Iowa and they lose. They get beat by Syracuse, Syracuse gets beat by Oregon.
Yep,
80-65, man. So it's one of those things that Syracuse comes off 2 losses. Obviously, you can't write them off yet.
No.
But I mean that's again they played some decent competition. It's not something. It's not a huge. They're not huge. Things that are going to ruin your season, but man, you don't want to walk away from this with 2 losses. I know that.
No, definitely not, and definitely not the way that they ended up losing them. In that UConn game, they go 16 of 22 from 3-point range, and when they're playing Oregon, they end up going. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. They missed 16 of 22 3-pointers in the game against UConn. Syracuse would go on to miss 23 of 28 shots from behind the arc. There, listen, you're not going to win these games, especially not with the way the ball is being played now. You're not going to win these games by making only 5 3-pointers or by making only 6 3-pointers when you're taking as many as 22 and 28 in a game, man. So I don't know if, at this point in time, if it's just a slump that they're going through, or if it's the fact that they don't really have any real shooters on that Syracuse team. And if the latter is true, if they don't have any shooters on that team, it is going to be a very long season for the Syracuse Orange.
But are you looking and hearing yourself or seeing the stat line on this? Like when they're missing this many shots, just imagine if they start going down, if they start hitting.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're not getting blown out. They lost to UConn by 7. They lost to the Oregon by 15. So they're not getting blown out of these games. Obviously, the defense is keeping them in the game long enough for it to be a decent game. But if that offense ever comes along, they could be deadly. But again, I don't know enough about the Syracuse team to know if they have lights out shooters, because obviously these 2 games have proved that right now they're struggling in that department.
Right.
But they're shooting the rock like they're confident enough that they have the sharpshooters. Are they going through a rough patch? It seems like it. But like I said, man, if those threes and the amount of threes they're shooting start falling,
oh yeah,
watch out.
Well, see, one of the things that also helps to keep Syracuse in games like this is the fact that they are one of the few teams in the nation who play a outstanding zone defense.
Right.
They can normally keep themselves in the game. Only problem is that if the opposing team they're playing starts knocking down those 3-pointers, that's when that defense really begins to go into shambles. But not many teams can do that to them because they're so good at switching on in the zone.
So, man, I agree with that, but we're going to have to talk about this one game before we close this episode out.
Yeah, man.
This was a shocker to me. I had my head scratched.
And everybody else in the nation.
because it's like, dude, I got it. You might have had nobody saw the Michigan game coming. Especially, I don't think if you're a Villanova fan, you didn't think you were going to get donkey stomped like you did. And if you're a Michigan fan, I talked to a lot of them, they did not see that happening either.
Sure.
But on the flip side, man, Villanova, again, this shows you that preseason rankings are worthless. That the number 8 ranking was, probably too high, and Furman beat you 76-68 in overtime. Come on, man.
So my guess is that most people are trying to look on a map and find out where Furman is. Furman is not a city, guys. Furman, that's not it. Furman is located in Greenville, South Carolina. So, I mean, most people have absolutely zero idea where this place is found. But, man, they got a team that played some ball against number 8 Villanova, man. It's not a blowout or anything like that, but Furman hung in there, man. Villanova had a chance to win the game, man. They were up 60-58 in the final minute of that game. And, they were Furman was able to drive down, knock down a couple of free throws. Both teams kind of go back and forth a little bit in that last minute trying to win the game. And Matt Rafferty, He ends the game with 15 points and 17 rebounds, man. He has a chance to win the game with free throws, but misses the front end of a 1-and-1, and that ultimately sent the game into overtime. He came out of the game, and it's really easy to say this after the game is over with, but he said, his teammates came around and picked him up and said, hey, man, don't worry about it. We're about to get this thing in overtime. And sure enough, man, they were able to not just hang on to win, man, but they were able to go in there and take one away from the still number 8 Villanova Wildcats there, man. So it's crazy.
Yeah, until tomorrow, right? Until the rankings come out.
Yeah, they won't be number 8 tomorrow. They may not be in the 25.
Yeah, probably not. I don't see. Again, I know the basketball rankings are definitely different in college. You can lose a lot more. But right now, man, Villanova's going to have to show me something if they're going to stay in my top 25.
Agreed.
Obviously, they're probably glad that I'm not ranking them because right now they're not showing me much. But, man, the shocking thing for me was not only did this game go to overtime, but how much Furman actually ended up outscoring them in overtime. I mean, you would see maybe lose by a couple points. I can see, Furman getting a shot or two here or the bounces went their way. But, man, they completely dominated overtime.
Very true. Very true, man. So I tell you what, man, there are some people that are starting to take a second look at this Furman team. Obviously people are taking a second look at Villanova with the 2 losses in a row and losing to Furman. But there's Furman team starting to raise a couple eyebrows about them, and maybe some people should be paying more attention to them, and we'll see how the rest of the season goes as well.
No doubt, man. That's something to look forward to. Possibly, could they be a Cinderella? Who knows? Do they get enough love to jump in the top 25? Who knows? But they'll have to do some more. They'll have to do more than just beat Villanova.
Very true.
So, man, that really brings us into the episode. But we do have some key matchups, obviously, this coming week. And if you want to touch on any of those. But the ones I highlighted are basically the Virginia Tech and Purdue game that it's being played tonight. Number 16 versus number 23. And then you got Marquette, which when I'm looking, they're at number 24. But I don't think they're going to be 24 when the rankings show out. But they do face number 2 Kansas, and then you have number 11 Michigan State versus number 20 UCLA. And these are all regular season. I don't think these are tournament games. They might be, but you would know on that more than I would. But those are the 3 games that I'm going to be looking out for.
Yeah, so you do have some games there that are, that definitely have some, intriguing matchups in there, and we're going to see some more because over the holiday weekend, man, there's a lot of these preseason tournaments, pre-conference play tournaments that are going to be played in there. I know the Maui Invitational is going to be up in there, and I mean several other ones that are going to provide us some more intriguing matchups and provide some more to talk about there. But man, just a lot of good college basketball. That's one of the things I love about Thanksgiving weekend is that it does give you a chance to not only get in some good college football games as they're wrapping up the end of the season, but some good stuff that really kind of helps kick off that college basketball season as well. So we'll kind of see what's going on in there. Man, I tell you what, that Michigan State UCLA game has some highlights written all over it, man. It's really interesting to see what Michigan State's doing now since that loss to number 2 Kansas to start the season off with. And man, that in UCLA, not only do they have the tradition, man, but they've got a really tight squad this year as well. So it'd be cool to watch them play.
Yeah, no doubt, brother. So, again, this brings us to the end of the episode, brother. It was another exciting one. Episode 11 is in the books. I appreciate your time. Thanks for getting on with me and doing this thing. It was fun, and I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man, no problem, man. I'm excited to see how this college football season kind of shakes out and then, man, really get rolling as we have into the college basketball season, keeping up with everything that's happening there, paying attention to all these different teams and the directions that they're going, whether it's up, down, sideways, left, right, who knows what's happening. But, man, it's going to be a good year, that's for sure.
Without a doubt, brother. Guys, thank you so much for listening to episode 11 of the College Sports Hour. Make sure to check out and subscribe to the College Sports Hour, guys. Make sure you watch and listen to the podcast episodes before it drops on our RSS feed. You can find that on our YouTube. Please go to it right now. Our YouTube channel is College Sports Hour. Please subscribe to it because you will be able to see it before it actually gets released in the RSS feed. We're having a little bit of trouble with the RSS feed right now. It's trickling out a little later than we want to, so we're trying to push everybody either to the YouTube channel. We'll probably push it and share it across on Facebook so it can get to you a lot quicker. And guys, subscribe and help us grow there as well. We'll be conducting YouTube Lives moving forward. That's our plan. We do have visions later to monetize this eventually one day, so that's where we're going to go. But our podcast can be found on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Music, Radio Republic, HeroesMediaGroup.com, and CollegeSportsHour.com. Make sure to like and follow us, guys, on Facebook if you haven't already. Also, visit our website at CollegeSportsHour.com where we continue the college sports conversation and post articles.
Hey, guys, and we also want to say thank you again to our sponsor for this week, Blue 4 Tactical. And they sell everything that you need for shooting, hunting, and the great outdoors. Visit blue4tactical.com today to enjoy your free, yes, we said free, shipping on all purchases of $100 or more. That is blue4tactical.com. Be ready, be prepared, be decisive.
Guys, as we enter the Thanksgiving break or Thanksgiving and the holidays, guys, we want to give a special shout out to our family and friends, to include all our listeners, our followers, and subscribers. Thanks for continuing to support what we do. Don't forget, guys, to join us next week for another episode of the College Sports Hour.